Next, NASA says its Voyager 1 probe, the most distant human-made object in the universe, is sending usable information to Earth again, after months of spouting gibberish.
Remember when we discussed the new Voyager ping, from which we were constantly receiving a unique signal from the satellite? The drama reached global audiences, and now retired engineers are debunking the idea that it might be artificial. But is it really? Let's talk about what's actually happening with this controversy, and how a retired scientist revealed something that the world wasn't ready for. Before we reveal to you the secrets of the universe, subscribe to our channel if you're interested in the secrets of the world. The glitch. So, let's begin from the start on what has been bothering the world for quite a while. There's Voyager 1. A unique satellite we humans sent into space in 1977. Right now, this probe is around 15.7 billion impressive miles away from the Earth, and it has already crossed the heliopause, meaning it's out of the sun's reach now. Back in 2023 to 2024, we started receiving some irregular signals from the probe, which it wasn't meant to send. When the news hit NASA, they ignored it, saying it could be a failing hardware, which kind of makes sense since it has been decades since the Voyager has been in space, with a processing power of less than a wristwatch.
Or at least Voyager 1 had been sending back information until the end of 2023, when the space probe began experiencing some issues and sent a bunch of code that scientists just couldn't figure out.
After making it seem like the Voyager was at fault, scientists began working on understanding the whole situation through software, even if a lot of people didn't agree with it. Then, a secret, later identified as a retired engineer whose name is not disclosed, said that the official explanation didn't match what his former colleague told him. According to the engineer, a deep analysis of the corrupted data stream revealed structured encoding that didn't correspond to the probe's software architecture. He later admitted that it wasn't even a human language. Instead, it appeared to have been overwritten. In other words, it seemed something else was using Voyager's signal as a carrier. The engineer even claimed that the signal had harmonic inconsistencies that were compared with Voyager's transmitters. It was almost as if another frequency was also integrated deeply within it. But NASA never confirmed these findings publicly. You also cannot find any official documents that are being circulated about it. However, several radio astronomers monitoring the Voyager's downlink independently noticed similar irregularities. So, is it true that NASA is hiding some kind of secret from us? To get to the bottom of this unique conspiracy, we must go into the history and understand the patterns that appeared in the past. In the past, the world saw similar patterns, but honestly, no one cared to think deeply, as the recently retired scientist did. Voyager's strange signals aren't new. As soon as it crossed the heliopause, which is basically a boundary where the sun ends and interstellar space starts, Voyager 1 sent interesting data spikes that were always misjudged by us. In the old days, we thought that the signals were just plasma wave fluctuations, or some kind of interaction with the space itself. And then, the 2023 to 2024 events happened, where we saw what the retired scientist likes to call a potential extraterrestrial interaction. The mysterious signals were coming from the Voyager, not from the universe itself.
We can start getting some sensible data back from this probe. At the minute, it's just engineering and health data, but soon they're going to move some more software around, and we should get lovely science data back.
Then, something even stranger happened. In April 2025, NASA decided to suspend all the uplinks and cut off communication with the Voyager, in hopes of understanding where these signals were coming from. This is what NASA called needing to stabilize strong communications. But the engineer had something else to say. According to many scientists, the uplink halt was not intended to protect Voyager. Instead, it was to prevent interference. They didn't want to risk corrupting whatever was transmitting back. Some said these signals were just hardware aging, while others said that maybe we just interacted with some other species from the dark corners of the solar system. The retired engineer's research. This retired engineer has been working at NASA for the longest time and also worked on deep space communications until his retirement. He wasn't part of the current Voyager team. But when you are so close to some of the biggest missions for so long, you tend to know a lot more than mere outsiders. Back in early 2024, one of the engineer's former colleagues allegedly reached out to him, asking for his input on a pattern recognition that involved the old spacecraft. But when he examined the waveform logs, he felt uneasy, and it changed everything for him. The spacing, modulation, and decay intervals did not look random. That's because when you map them visually, they look like nested sequences, almost like a handshake protocol. And if you're not familiar with the communication systems, A handshake is basically an exchange used to establish a stable connection between two devices. Voyager wasn't supposed to perform handshakes since it transmitted data one way, from space to Earth. Is it possible that someone was actually on the other end? On the 26th of February 2024, we saw that, for around 18 minutes, the Voyager 1 started giving those same signals again. The Deep Space Network station in Madrid caught this. This was an artificial-sounding pulse that rose and fell in a very predictable and consistent rhythm. So, when the team cross-checked historical data, they discovered that the same pulse had already appeared at least 3 times before, in 2010, 2014, and 2017. However, it was just dismissed and invalidated as noise. This time, it was undeniable. The frequency shift was in line with Voyager's rotation period, suggesting synchronization. So, the probe seems to be responding to something that was out there, and once the NASA engineers started working with the Voyager, they found out that the signals stabilized for hours before changing again. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Once the signals were converted into a graph format, they showed us something called the hydrogen line frequency, which is at 1,420 megahertzes. It was popularly believed that this same frequency is something that the extraterrestrial species would contact us from, if they were to even exist. NASA has been largely silent. Their official March blog post confirmed a corrupted memory segment, but then they made no mention of the recurring pattern. So far, you might be wondering if NASA is hiding something from us, and it's fair. But before we reveal that, please subscribe to our channel if you love videos where we uncover the darkest secrets of the universe, unknown to mankind. Back to the subject. After what happened, NASA said it was preparing a plan to fix the damaged chip and restore data in the coming months. But that was not the end. Weeks after that announcement, all public updates on the issue stopped. The Deep Space Network logs, usually open to amateur observers, showed that Voyager's downlink data rate has abruptly throttled compared to the past. Since then, NASA has resumed routine updates, but the unusual pattern has not been publicly discussed or acknowledged. And where does this mysterious scientist come out or decide to speak out? According to the retired scientists, this is about something other than just aliens. Even if it's not aliens, we are looking at something that is out there, trying to give us polished signals while we're pretending that nothing is happening. When Voyager 1 was first sent to the solar system, the scientists added something called the Golden Record. This was gold-plated copper, containing sounds, images, and even greetings in many different languages. So, is there even a slight chance that some extraterrestrial species saw our message and is trying to send us a message back? Some physicists have even suggested that these signals could be an example of sympathetic resonance. This is where the interstellar magnetic fields cause repeating feedback loops in the spacecraft's system. However, the most brilliant scientists aren't convinced. According to our retired scientist here, we can simulate noise, but we cannot simulate structure. The pattern Voyager sent wasn't just random. It followed a complete internal logic. In other words, there's a considerable chance that the pattern could be a reflection of Voyager's own transmission being modulated by something external. This could even be artificial. Think of it as an echo. Except, it's not coming from space, but it's responding to something, and controlled by something as well. Possibility of an artificial contact. For decades, the SETI community has dreamed of getting a clear signal from another civilization. Yet, the odds were second to none. Since the universe is overwhelmingly silent, we never got a chance to receive anything that seemed unusual. Still, Voyager's discovery has reignited those very discussions that had been dormant for decades. If the pulse were artificial, it wouldn't mean direct communication, at least not the way we understand it. It could simply mean detection, reflection, or even replication by something unknown. So, why was this signal withheld? Was it out of caution, or was it too extraordinary to confirm? Either way, the incident has shaken confidence in what scientists thought they knew about interstellar communication. There's also a part of this story that only a few would ever mention. In 1990, as Voyager 1 was leaving the solar system, it gave us one final burst of signals. This was a long signal that was later used to create the famous pale blue dot image. However, hidden within the same data file is an unexplained spike, something the world considers nothing more than a glitch. This is a single pulse that is different from regular telemetry. At that time, it was deemed as nothing more than an interference. But when Mark compared that old signal with the 2024 waveform, he finally found a match. According to him, this wave was almost identical to the same modulation profile, same decay, and the same thing that caused it back in 1990. This realization changed everything for us. If the signal recurs across decades, this indicates continuity. Either it could be a natural phenomenon that we don't understand, or something that is deliberately repeating. Here's where the controversy comes. When asked for comment, NASA's Public Affairs Office said that Voyager 1 is still in an overall pristine condition, despite having to go through many temperature extremes. And they also informed that engineers are continuing to work on restoring the data output. However, the whole communication still stopped, lasting nearly 2 months, which NASA has yet to explain. Usually, they send at least periodic calibration commands to maintain the communication stability, but this time, they went silent. According to the retired scientist, this pause wasn't due to any technical reason. Rather, it was purely observation-based. Basically, they wanted to see what it would do without interference, and since it kept transmitting, this is what alarmed NASA. He suspects that the Voyager may be receiving low-frequency interactions from an unknown source that is beyond the heliosphere. This could be intelligent enough to mimic the signal behavior. But this raises the question, why does the mysterious engineer's information even matter? You see, if he's right, Voyager 1's strange signal could be the start of something new. It could be the first potential instance of machine-to-machine interaction beyond our solar system. This isn't a radio message in words, but a digital handshake across the void. For now, NASA is officially silent. The mainstream media has moved on, yet there's still a lot to debunk here. Maybe it's a glitch, a ghost in an aging machine, or maybe for the first time, something finally answered back. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments down below. And before you go, subscribe for more deep space mysterious and real unsolved events that science cannot explain.